Okay, welcome everybody. We have 3 days left, I think, 2 days or whatever. The end. So, Mr. Steve, what's your secret to breaking the 0.90 barrier, man? You want to share with us?
Basically, yeah, I've just been lucky getting things to work finally. There's a few things. It's yeah, like I have like an ensemble that yeah, like it just took absolutely ages to get working, but it's finally working. So like all of the stuff that I use is like every single model. I take the softmax of it and then combine like that, and then weight weight each of the outputs to sort of fine tune that. But yeah, like I've got models now, like an individual model that's hitting 0.89, just a single model, and it's do you know like the notebook that was put on the long former one with the 270K Wikipedia context thing?
Right,
So
right.
yeah, so like that long former model, it hadn't been fine tuned at all. It was just straight out of the box. It'd been tuned on a race data set, which is some question and answering thing. So yeah, like I've fine tuned that a bit to boost its performance. And yeah, like now I'm doing the
So,
same with
so when you say fine tune that, what did you use to fine tune? And also, sorry, one more question with respect to each of these. Are you using a diverter model, or are you using one of these large, um, platypus or whatever, LL,
oh
not
no,
diverter, but LLM?
yeah, no, I've given up on Deberta and Llama and whatever. Sorry, I've given up on Platypus and Llama. Yeah, like it's mainly just Deberta models, like the original sort of Chris Diot using Deberta
Right.
with the whatever the thing was called, the thing for question answering, multiple choice question answering. So it's basically
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, so like the original notebook that came out, it's long former rather than Deberta.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
and yeah, so like the long former model there, it was like straight out of the Hugging Face hub. So it had been like the base long former model that had then been fine tuned on a race data set, which is like similar to what this competition, except it's question answering, but it's only got four possible choices instead of R5. So yeah, like the person's notebook, they hadn't fine tuned it at all. It was like a zero shot thing where they were just sort of taking the context and putting it in. So just using sort of Chris Diot's, like his how to fine tune a model, just doing that, but with long former instead of Deberta, like give me a boost.
Okay. Okay.
And also as well,
Yeah, because the reason I asked that is, if you're doing any kind of ensemble, then you must not or cannot be using these LLM, because any one of these Llama or any of these take too long to run. So the only way you can ensemble is if you're using like a long former or a diverter model, right?
exactly, yeah. So like the platypus one, it gave me good results. It like gave me 8.7 or something, 0.87 by itself. But as you say, like it takes
Right.
7 or 8 hours to run. So if you use
Right.
that one, then you can't have any other models. So like I think a better strategy is to have lots of models and sort of yeah, just get them to sort of vote which is the best answer.
Okay. So you said you use softmax though of the outputs for each of them, right? Meaning that you didn't have this voting ensemble thing that's talked about?
And no, I started with the voting ensemble. Yeah, like I spent a long time trying to get things ensembled. Like originally I was just using the logits out of the model and using that, and then like yeah, like converting that into A, B, C, and D, and then using the voting thing. And yeah, like I could never get a sort of ensemble that was better than the individual models themselves. Then there's another guy who put in like a notebook about a weighted ensemble, and he uses the validation set and like sort of runs each model in that to get the weight for each one. So he actually does that in his inference notebook. He sort of yeah runs each model at the same time and gets the weight and then uses that weight. But like obviously that's slow, so I use that as a starting point to get the weights for my models. And like, yeah, so now I've cut out the actual calculation of the weights bit. They're just all hard coded now.
Okay. So you use that to kind of get the initial weights and then just stuck to those as you tweak them.
That's right, yeah. So like they gave me a sort of like a baseline, and then I've tweaked about with them to sort of boost things.
Cool.
Which data set are you using, Steve? Since it's the 270K and you're using Chris Diot's notebook, is it the 60K or the
Yeah,
270K?
but it's yeah. So I use the 270K to make the context.
Okay,
So like it's the 270K from the
right,
long
that
form
notebook.
notebook. Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
it gives you the context. Yeah, so like I
Right.
actually used that. Yeah, so like Chris Diot 60K, he has context built into that, but I
Right.
redid the context using the 270K to get new context,
Oh, okay, I see.
and
So,
then
okay,
trained with that.
and then fine tune with that. Okay, cool, nice, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, that I think, I mean, even though I played with the platypus and it kept failing on me too, by the way.
Yeah.
And didn't run and kept timeout or memory. Finally, I think one or two of the versions began to work just last week, and I wanted to compare notes with Reckle because actually it turns out that I didn't do anything different other than use different versions. So, Reckle, were you able to debug anything that you found with any of his notebooks that were interesting, or could be the potential root cause of why some versions time out and some don't?
No, didn't get there. I was trying to get a llama
Yeah.
model running, and I got that running with some ensembles. But yeah, my scores are way below because I'm using really small context lengths right now, just trying to get everything running.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, nothing.
But it seems like what to me, the approach. I mean, there are only 2 days left, so who knows what I'll submit. But I think the approach that Steve is using makes it more appealing from the standpoint of the purpose of the competition, right? Because if you use this, I mean, I was still playing with it, so I know so that I can learn what to do with these large models and how to train them and what are the steps to take and all that. But to adhere to the spirit of the competition, I think Steve's approach is better one because ultimately the goal is to do with a smaller model what larger models can't do. Although the question there is, how big is Longformer compared to this Diverter 3? Anybody know any kind of approximation between those two? Is Diverter still smaller? And do you still use any Diverter models in your ensemble, or are they all Longformers now, Steve?
Oh no, they're all mostly Diverta. So in my model, in my ensemble, I have 6 models at the minute. 5 of them are Diverta, and 1 of them's Longformer.
Okay.
But at the minute, I'm in the process of maybe dumping the Longformer one. Actually, if you run the Longformer notebook with Chris Diot's trained Diverta, you get better results. So
what do you mean run the Longformer but with Chris Diot trained Diverter?
Yeah. So the
Longformer too?
Yeah, the Longformer is basically, the notebook has basically 2 parts to it. You got like the whole bit at the start, which is the 270K Wikipedia stuff, finding the context. So like all of that there gives you really good context, and like the context you get out with that is much better than the one in the Chris Diot notebook. So if you just use that 270K context with Chris Diot's Deberta model, you'll get better results than you do with the Longformer model that's in the original Longformer notebook.
Okay, got it. So create context with Longformer, but then use the Deberta model for actually doing the LLM predictions of the answers.
Sort of, yeah. Create the context using the context creation routine in the Longformer notebook. It doesn't actually use Longformer, it's using a sentence piece.
I
Yeah, so like that, as I say, that notebook's got 2 bits. It's got the context creation, which is completely separate and nothing to do with Longformer. It's just good because it uses the 270 wiki entries and gives you really good context. And then the second part of that notebook is using that context with Longformer, which gives you a good result just because the context is so good. But if you dump the Longformer bit and replace it with Chris Diott's trained DeBerta model, you'll get even better results. You'll get about 0.88 without having to do anything.
A question on the ensembling, Steve. Is everything on one notebook, or are you using some strategy where you're importing stuff from other notebooks?
I started out.
I'm curious.
Yeah, like in a previous competition, we saw like a way where you could have like separate notebooks, and like basically you would run them separately, and then you would like download the notebook IP what's it called, IPYNB file, and you would put that in a data set, and then you could use the data set with a separate notebook, and you could just pull the thing in and run it. So
Right.
effectively, just running a whole notebook in a cell in another Jupyter notebook, which is really
Right.
nice because it keeps things nice and tidy. You just
Uh-huh.
have like a thing. So I started out doing that, and yeah, I couldn't get it to work. It was like always like running out of memory and stuff. So at the
Okay.
minute, my ensemble notebook is just every single bit of code all stuck in. So it's
Everything. Okay.
pretty
Cool.
messy. Like,
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying importing the submission and then trying to see if I could run that for the ensemble. But yeah, I was just curious if you had tried that.
yeah, no, like it is a neater way to do it, but yeah, for whatever reason, it's not working. So
Yeah, I'm out of my submissions for today, so I have to try again and see if things just keep failing on me.
well, that's
So
what
yeah.
happened for me. Yeah, like I spent weeks and weeks trying to get the ensemble working and trying to get it nice, and that's why I didn't make any progress. And it's only like in the last week that it started working when I just dumped everything in together. So
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of what Jeremy says too, right? Like you just break your head again, not working, boom, something snaps,
yeah.
and it's like, oh my God, don't change.
Yeah, I
Then
seem to
things
go like
mess up.
alternate days or whatever. One day just absolutely nothing will work and everything fails, and then the next day it'll go through and pass.
In
Can be a
That's
terms
bit
very
of,
frustrating.
cool. That
What was that,
sorry, go
sorry?
ahead.
go ahead, Ricky.
I was just going to say, I was doing some experiments out of Kaggle, and I think it's the 270K one where you have that data set where he creates the FICE index from the Cohere embeddings, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I swapped out the mini LM2 with the small, whatever, that small EN which is there, which is again like 384 vectors long embedding. And I got a small pump, and I swapped that out again with the top of the leaderboard, that NTEB dataset stuff. And I got like, I think at least almost 2 or 3 points jumped from that. But that has like almost 5 times bigger embedding. So I don't know if that'll run fine on Kaggle or it'll, crash. I was trying this on
Which
an
is the last one?
A6000.
What was the last
So
one you mentioned?
I think in Platypus, he mentions there's the model that he uses, right? So that's the small version of the model. There's a larger version of that same model.
Okay.
This is
And
just for
that's,
creating the this is just for creating the context, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Creating the
Yeah.
index and then,
One of his platypus notebooks or the discussion or something he had, yeah, like he'd run through like various ways of creating them. So I do think the platypus notebook probably has the most elegant way of creating the context. I had like intended to try it using that, but hadn't got around to it.
uh
Yeah, I think he said it gave better results. So you
yeah,
could,
because I think if that leaderboard itself, the model which the long form notebook uses is placed somewhere around like 36, 37 or something, for the same embedding size. If you
that's right,
use
yeah.
the one he presents is like around, I don't know, 10, 12 or something. So yeah, that probably should give you a bigger boost. But yeah, that means you have to bring in the model and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been fun trying all this with Kaggle, breaking
Yeah.
things every time I try.
But if you use that with Steve's approach, that should, I mean, we don't know the, larger
Yeah, if there is
embeddings, but your
no
model,
memory crashes and all that, it in theory should be a much better. Yeah.
right, which is the Deberta model. So your embeddings are bigger, but your model isn't like,
No, but recovering that is where the embedding and memory problem is,
oh,
right?
okay. So you're
The
saying
RAG,
that
the RAG part of it.
yeah. So when you're trying to use
Yeah, at inference, when
the
you get the
context,
new,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. When you get the new text, you have to convert that to an embedding and then do the match. So that is where the problem is.
that's when you run out of space or
Could,
time.
yeah, you could. I mean, the model is not that big. I was looking at it. It's like only 1.3 gigs. So if you can efficiently like, yeah, load, run, do it in batches and then drop it, you should be fine. But yeah, I mean, does anyone on this actually topic have a notebook or something that they can share where you can efficiently use both the T4s together? In my case,
I
I
think
somehow see that only.
the Platypus one does. It uses two T4s.
No, I mean, like, oh, is there any specific code that you remember seeing that makes it run on two T4s?
No, not
How
that I can recall.
It
I
runs on
remember
a
when there
single
were these
T4.
runs on a single, because I thought he mentions that as two. Or am I just remembering it wrong? Because when you look at the
No, Kaggle is two T4s. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, but you have to specify and get it running on two, right? But if you just select and just run, it'll run probably on just one T4.
probably. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, if you're just talking about the context creation, are you? Or are you talking about the actual model? I was.
Any part of it. I'm just curious how to get both the T4s running, if there is
I,
any specific.
yeah, I was wondering if the Hugging Face trainer itself detects that there's two.
Oh, okay. So I was using Accelerate and I was trying to get it running, but I think instead of two GPUs, mine's kind of like spawning two threads and running on two threads. So I'm not seeing any benefit at all. So that's why I was wondering if
What, when
can
someone
you
you see
run
my
that?
screen now?
Use a distributed strategy.
Yeah, the DDP
Uh,
strategy is what, right?
yeah.
Because there's a data parallel strategy, and that one I thought was, I mean, it gave me like the same time versus the DDP strategy is what I finally ended up. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Those
okay,
are the strategies that are being used here from Keras
okay,
and PyTorch point of view.
okay. Do you happen to know if there's any notebook that you've seen or any resource that you can point?
Yeah, I've in the previous competitions ran some code on the T4s, on the dual T4s
Oh,
that
awesome.
used.
Okay,
Yeah. I will share them.
cool. Yeah, that'd be great.
But do you need specific code to put it on the two, since the
Yeah.
basic accelerator seems to have two?
Either you do what Steve is saying, where the Hugging Face trainer should probably take care of it. Actually, Accelerate is the one which kind of identifies and takes care of stuff. I don't know if the HF trainer, I'm not that familiar with that under the hood, what it does. But more than that, for me, it was mainly I wanted to get inference running there. So Accelerate has documentation where you can run. And I was able to split the data set into two halves and run it. And it's running on two different process indices, but I'm not 100% sure because my other GPU doesn't seem to be racking up in memory when like it's loading and all that. Only one of them show. It goes up to like 8-9 GB, and then the other one's still at like 3 MB
Yeah,
or something.
as Mayank
So
says, in the previous competition, there was like specific code that did all the stuff and put it on the two GPUs. And when it goes onto the two GPUs, you will see both of their memory going up.
Both, right? Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
that's
so
what
if you,
mine's more of multiprocessing, I think, than okay.
yeah, so if you don't see the memory going up on the second graph,
Okay.
then I don't think it is.
It is okay. If you happen to find that notebook or point some direction to that, that'll be great. I'll check out what Mayank shares, and yeah, if you happen to find this, that'll be great.
Yeah, Mayank, if you
Because
can
that should
post
save
it
time,
on
right?
Slack.
At inference.
It should do, yeah, like that. That's why I
Yeah.
went to GPUs in the previous competition, because yeah, like it was running out of inference time, and
Okay.
it, yeah, like it was sort of, it didn't double it, but yeah, you got a pretty
True.
good boost out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So are you tracking it on Kaggle?
Yeah.
When you say is looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. And so of course this is just a comment, but if you look at this, this is still this platypus thingy. He says run the model on the 2 GPUs.
I should look at that again. I thought I never saw anything, but yeah, maybe I missed it. But yeah, cool. I'll take a look.
This sharded llama stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, again, this is just a comment, but I don't see anything here where he is specifying anywhere in the code.
So if you look at the notebook, I just, oh, wait 1 second. Where is Slack?
But he does have a comment saying running it on 2, and this thing just is T4 times 2. But to your point, how do we know that it's running on?
Yeah, so if you look at the notebook I just shared on Slack, that one you can clearly see where they actually write a script and then kind of use accelerate to kind of push it off onto 2. I thought I was doing something similar, but yeah, to Steve's point, I don't see my GPU, the second GPU at least, increasing in memory, so I need to double check what is going on. How long is your submission taking right now, Steve?
7 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was
Nice.
trying to squeeze some more stuff into
Some more. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, like at the minute I'm fine tuning the Deberta model, but yeah.
Okay.
It says it's gonna take 48 hours. And
Oh, okay.
like that's on Google Colab. And
Oh, okay.
I think the notebooks kick you off after 12, so
Have you been able to run it for 12 hours, Steve? I have had it crash on me for, like around 8-9 hour time at most.
I have been able to get it to run for 12, but the major problem is when you're running with the Hugging Face trainer, yeah, so it saves the checkpoints that you've specified, like say every 25 steps. So it saves a checkpoint and then it deletes the old one. But yeah, so I've set my path to be to Google Drive, so as it saves the checkpoints back there. So it's like if it falls over or whatever, I have the checkpoint and I have the most recent thing. But when it deletes the previous checkpoint on Google Drive, it sticks it in the trash, and it doesn't delete it properly. So my trash keeps filling up. So I keep running out of disk space. I have to go back at the computer every 2 hours to empty my waste bin to free up space. So I have to set myself alarms for the middle of the night to get up to empty the trash.
Can you access the trash from Colab?
Sorry, what?
Can you access the trash from Colab and then?
No,
but still, it will be in between the trainer. Yeah, okay, that's a tricky one.
I have to get up and access Google Drive.
One thing you may want to try, I've been playing with this just in the last several days. You may want to try this, although it's a risky proposition, but you may want to try it out with a couple of simple things, is see whether you can get Bart to do it for you. you can link Bard to the workspace now. So you can tell Bard to delete your trash, I would imagine, because just I haven't done it myself, but what I have done is I've told Bard, for example, to go get specific email messages from my Gmail and then combine them and write out a text file. And it did that. Yeah. So you can link Bard to your workspace. That I've done already. So it can access like your Google Drive and stuff. It actually, I've used it to retrieve stuff from my Google Drive. Like instead of going to Google Drive and searching, I've just told Bard, go get this, it's in my Google Drive. And if you can find, this topic in anything in my Google Drive, extract and send me what you get. And it did that successfully.
All right.
So I'm just wondering whether you can use Bard to, now, the thing I don't know yet is whether you can fire Bard off at the frequency of like 2 hours or whatever that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But just a thought.
Add a custom callback somewhere there.
Yeah, because Bard is able to go to your workspace, access Google Mail, do all these things for you now.
Yeah. The only thing
now we just have to figure out the program Bard.
I'll try that, but yeah, when you're fine tuning though, it only takes like about an epoch. You only seem to be able to, you don't seem to get any improvement after about sort of 6 or 7 hours anyway. So yeah, I don't need to run it for 48. I just run it for about 7, and just doing that gives you like a boost.
How much data are you using for that, Stu? For like 1 epoch?
Well, it's the 64K training notebook.
Oh, sorry, which one?
I think it was Chris Diot. Was it 64K?
Oh, so you use the whole 64K and for 1 epoch?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Cool. Okay. And is the whole thing like unfrozen, or do you still freeze part of it? Any
It's
strategy on that?
exactly the same as Chris Diot's.
Okay. So I think he
training
freezes some 18 layers or something, and then okay.
Yeah, but as I said, I've pre-trained the model in the discussions. Yeah, so the long former model, it's out of the box trained on that race data set.
Right.
So like in the discussions, what's he called? William Wu, whatever, it's a frequent poster. He said that he'd pre-trained his Deberta on race, and he gives the code for doing that. So I've pre-trained on race, and like now I'm training on the 64K competition data to, and like it seems to push it up a bit. Its score.
Cool.
The race data set is at RAIS,
RACE.
Okay.
It's, I suppose it's Chinese students had to answer English questions, multiple choice English questions. That's where it came from. So yeah, if you look at the discussions, there's a whole discussion about pre-training on it.
Okay.
Oh. So any luck submitting and be able to get your results from your prior submissions?
Yeah, I think I got like 0.17. I'm playing around with maybe separating the different answers in the context, but yeah, pretty small changes.
How about you, Terence?
I struggled just trying to get those previous notebooks to run. I spent some time, I think last week, doing that and haven't done anything since. But they were timing out. One of them ran. I basically closed everything out, closed all of my notebooks, and then ran it, and it was able to succeed, but I couldn't get any of the others to run. So, no luck.
What do you mind?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I had a luck with a couple of notebooks I was able to run, but the next couple died on me. So I'm in the middle where I'm trying to experiment, but they die on me. So yeah, I'm kind of like frustrated right now.
Yeah, try different versions, by the way. That seemed to help me playing around with, they have different versions of the notebook. But I think based on what I heard from Steve, I'm going to go back to using good old Deberta and just playing with that. Although given the time frame, I don't know how much fine tuning and stuff I'll be able to do with the. I haven't even started to download Colab, and in fact, because I was doing all this stable diffusion stuff, my Colab thing ran out, and so I had to buy additional as Steve had done. And anyway, long story short, I have very little computing left budget. So whatever fine tuning I have to do on Kaggle.
So it ran out once for you.
Yeah. It gave me, best results like 0.87 or thereabouts. Same thing as what Steve talked about. That's the platypus stuff. But I think I'm based on what I heard, and I was anyway thinking that I should still explore the Deberta thing more, because it's kind of, as I keep saying, it's kind of a little bit more in line with the goals of the competition. So I'll spend the next day or so. I think we have until Tuesday or something like that. What I
It says 3 days to go. So
yeah. So I think let's see. Overview timing. October 10th. So we are on 7th, 8, 9, 10. So Sunday and then Monday, Tuesday. So we have to submit by Tuesday midnight Steve time. So that gives us, a couple of days, a couple of full days, and then at least for us in the West Coast, half a day or thereabouts of Tuesday. We have to submit by 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 local PM. So that will give me some time to play with the ensemble. I don't know how much ensembling I'll be able to do, but I intend to try with the time left.
yeah, as I say, a good place to start would be just take that long former notebook and add Chris Diott's train model into it.
Yeah.
And then if you get the output from the long former and the output from the Deberta, and just combine the two of those, you should probably get close to 0.9.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that's ensembling Christiot's Deberta, and is that long former out of the box, or is that the fine-tuned one you're talking about?
Just out of the box, you'll get a
cool.
reasonable
Okay.
score with it. Yeah, to fine tune it, it would take you a day probably. So if you want to do it quickly, just use the one out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
When your notebooks, Terence and Emily, when they're failing, do you mean on submission, or do you mean they fail when you run them?
On submission.
Yeah, so yeah, when that happens to me, what I do is just go into Kaggle and just run them. And if you try cutting down it depends on what the failure is, but if you cut down the test input size, so it's normally 200 rows, so you can just tell pandas when it opens up the CSV file, just to say bring in, I don't know, 50 rows or something, then it can go pretty quickly. Obviously, it depends on how much GPU time you've got left in your Kaggle account.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the best way. Because when it fails on submission, it doesn't give you any information at all about why it failed, and so you can't really fix it that way.
Cool. Thanks.
I learned it the hard way that if you upload a data set and you make it available on the input, if it's private, you can't, I mean, your notebook will run if you use that path, but when you submit it, it won't run. You need to move it into the working space, or you
Sorry.
need to make your data set public.
Yeah, when you say, by the way, exactly on that, when you say, because I've used private, I mean, I haven't made the data public. I've just imported it and used it as part of my inputs. Is that what you mean by importing into workspace?
When you say import
Or-
from where did you import that? Is this like a public data set available or something that you uploaded? I'm just curious.
Sorry, do you
Yeah,
mean?
no, I upload it as a data set. I upload it as a data set, not public, just privately using the Kaggle, like whatever Steve had pointed to before of this, it's not an API, but you can do it online. It just, as soon as you upload a file, I forget now the method I use, but it's a private, it's not open to everybody. It's just private, and it gives you the location where it uploaded the data set. This was for the Vesuvius competition. So I created that. It exists on Kaggle. And then when I need to use it, I just import, there is a, in your Kaggle, like when you say there are options it gives you for include the data from this competition, or include the public data set, or it gives you an option to include your own private data set, and you can just include that.
Correct.
And if you do that, it's available as part of your input, and you just do that, whatever / input / and then your data set.
Right. And if you make a submission also, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's how I submitted all my Vesuvius competition, because I was training I was creating data sets of, basically my models were uploaded from Kaggle, and that's the model I was using. I uploaded from Colab, and that's the model I was using to do my prediction. So my model was from Colab, because you couldn't train those models because the data size was too big for Kaggle. So we had to do the training on Colab and then bring in the model and use that model to actually run on the data in Kaggle. And I used to submit based off of that, and it worked.
Weird. I wonder why mine broke then, because then I added print statements, and then I said, like, if the path is not found here, then go to the working directory, move it, and then it's submitted. So my assumption was, if it's not public, you can't submit with something in the private data set. I mean, in the Kaggle input. And that is good to know, though, because that takes so much of time moving things around for me. I should try again then.
That's why I was surprised when you said that, because actually for me, all the models that I trained on Colab, I did it the way I told you, right? I just uploaded the model as a data set. In fact, that was suggested to me by Steve, and I just used that in my notebook. I used that model, and even when I submit, that's the model that's used.
Interesting. I lost like 3 or 4 submissions because of that, and then finally landed on that decision, and that works. So good to know. Thanks.
Yeah, because Steve if Steve is training and doing stuff on Colab, that's probably what he's doing even now, right? For his models and stuff.
Well, I've actually stopped doing that. So when you create a data set, any data set that you make, if it's either private or public, you can always see it within your notebooks, and it'll also be seen on any submissions you do. If you take your own notebook with a private data set and share it, other people who take a copy of your notebook will not be able to see the private one. Similarly, like if you look at the code that people publish as part of the competition and the code thing, you need to be careful, because half the time they put private data sets in their notebooks, and so you can't run the notebook because it's private. anything you've made, that's fine. You can always run and submit with that. But what I
With that,
do,
okay.
yeah, what I do now though, I used to train in Colab, and then I would download the model from Colab onto my local PC, and then upload it into a data set on Kaggle. And like,
Mhm.
obviously that takes quite a long time because you got to like
Right.
download and then back upload. What I do instead now is I create like a notebook in Kaggle and use gdown, and like then I share the directory in Google Drive, and then use gdown to pull it straight into the notebook. So it pulls it straight to Kaggle from Colab.
Okay.
And
And then how
then,
do you save it over there?
well, like then when you run that notebook, it pulls it down. It uses gdown to pull the model across to Kaggle,
Okay.
and then into the notebook I'm working on, I just add the other notebook as a data, well, as a bit of data, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
if
I
I
have like a stub notebook in Kaggle. So that the notebook in Kaggle, all it has in it is a single line saying gdown with the path to the shared thing on your Google Drive.
no,
And
Google Drive, okay.
when you run that notebook, it'll pull the thing across and put it into the output of the notebook. And then in the notebook you're working on, you just add that stub notebook in, and it has all the data
Oh, okay.
available for you. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
like
Okay.
that's
Okay.
that's the quickest way to get things over.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
But
That's
does this
clever.
happen on every run?
No, yeah, it's like yeah, it's. I'll share my screen here. It's probably easier to explain.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Um, where's it going? It's going very slow. Yeah, so in the code, yeah, so I have this notebook, science model download. And yeah, so all it has is here, it just has a gdown, and like this path here is what you get
Mm-hmm.
out of, yeah, so if I find that over,
Wherever your model is stored. Okay. Okay.
yes, so here, yeah, so like these ones here are shared, so that they're,
Okay.
um, yeah, so when you copy the link, it gives you
Mm-hmm.
this here, and then I just gdown that,
Okay.
which is the trained model. So like
Mm-hmm.
then this notebook, this LL Science model download, yeah, so like if this is the notebook that I was working on, you can see I've just pulled that in.
Pull that in. Okay.
So yeah, you just go to add data, your notebooks, and then
Okay.
yeah, well, you'd select it and pull it in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a smooth, easier way with less number of steps
Yeah, and
than what I was doing.
yeah, so the one to pull it over, you just, oh yeah, so back here, how do you get out of that? Oh, I can't see the X.
So the LLM science download thingy, the stub, other than that gdown, you don't have anything else in it, do you?
No, so it's just a stub. So you can see here, so these are its output files. So you can see it's pulled over all the models.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where the.
So
the thing gets in there.
So
But
Steve,
yeah,
could you even shove? Oh, is this a folder that has multiple models, or is it a single model that where you put it? And can you pull multiple models in a folder and pull that through GDown and all the models show up, or?
yeah, so like here, these folders here in Google Drive, these are my trained models. These are the ones I've trained. So I go on here and I click on, say, model v3 here, right click and share, and that shares that folder. Then
Right.
I don't know where the notebook went. Yeah, so this is the download one. Yeah, so like within here, this doesn't have anything in it apart from installing GDown, and then you just put GDown, and when you would save this notebook, it'll run this, and so like then it pulls. You can see here you have to put folder, sorry, at the end of it. But
Okay.
but when you save that notebook, it pulls this entire folder over from your Google Drive, and like then it's available as the output of this notebook. And so when you add this notebook to your other one, it has all of these things. So in this case here, it's pulled over 3 separate folders.
Cool. Okay. Nice.
So yeah, like that's the quick way to get stuff over.
So now when each time you submit this, does it download stuff? I'm just curious to know that.
No, it only downloads. Yeah, so the stub notebook, when you save that, it uses GDown to pull the thing over, and like
And
that's it.
everything is there. Oh, okay,
Then
okay,
that's
okay. I
everything
see.
there. That notebook then is fixed, and everything's
Okay, okay.
It just has the directory, the output data there. So when you
Folder. Okay, okay.
yeah, so it doesn't pull it over every time. It just does it once.
Nice. Okay,
So
yeah,
it's
that is.
there in the output of the download notebook. Therefore, that output is what it attaches to this notebook and gets the data from there.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that is a big time saver. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
because
Thanks.
I think my broadband's rubbish. It's taking like hours
Yeah.
putting things up and down, whatever.
Yeah, and then I missed.
It seems really fast to go from your Google Drive over to Colab.
Makes sense. I named a file wrong, and then it didn't find that in Hugging Face to open it, and then I had to re-upload Llama. Yeah, this is a big time saver. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, by the way, the other big place where it actually helped, and Steve pointed out, and in fact, Yuri asked me this, and I responded to him too, right, is in this case, he's used it for Kaggle, but the other big, he kind of mentioned it, Steve did in a couple of sentences, repeated it, but just to highlight it, it's useful, incredibly useful for pulling in even from your Google Drive to Colab and running everything in Colab rather than going back and forth with a very large data set in Colab to Google Drive, because that was killing me in previous competition. And Steve kind of found this way of using GDown to pull the data, which could be humongous, from your Google Drive and into Colab, and then running everything in Colab. That's provided you have the memory of A100 or whatever. Provided you have GP memory, you don't suffer from having to go back and forth and get the data from Google Drive, which was just annihilating me in terms of time and what it took to do that. In fact, it kept failing. So not only is this a quick way to upload your models from Google Drive to Kaggle, but it's also immensely useful to run very large data sets on Colab and not keep going back and forth from Colab to Google Drive, which also is incredibly slow.
Right. Okay. Oh, actually, talking about that, does it affect how big your Kaggle/input folder is when you start a notebook? Mine takes almost 10 minutes to start with. Like I have like 2 versions of Llama sitting there. I'm suspecting it's because of that, but again, yeah, is that related to that, or is I'm having just some other problems?
Sorry, do you mean on Kaggle?
Yeah.
Oh, when you start the notebook, does it sit there saying downloading data?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Don't think you do about that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, that there's just pulling all the data sets in, and obviously if you're using something humongous, it takes a while to
Just takes
pull in.
yeah. So every
Yeah.
6 times I start a notebook, I lose an hour in that itself. So I was wondering
Yeah, no, I
what's
think
going on.
that's like Steve said, unfortunately that's just price you pay for having to pull in that much. I mean, I have seen it in Vesuvius, and obviously.
No, but the weird thing is, if I
side.
leave it public, it makes it faster for some reason. Or again, I don't know if that is dependent or not. Yeah, I'm still figuring out this.
Oh, this is your data set, is it, by the way?
Yeah,
Here's
yeah.
what-
The
Yeah,
model.
that's the other thing about data sets. If you use private data sets, you've got a very limited size that you're allowed to store in Kaggle. I make all my data sets public now.
Mhm.
Because I think you can have like almost unlimited public ones.
Right.
And because of that fact, it's just like a load of rubbish I'm sticking in there anyway. I don't care if anybody sees it.
Yeah.
It's not as if
Exactly.
it's state secrets or anything. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in a way, it rewards making things public, which is a good thing. So.
Cool.
But
Awesome.
there is this limit of a single data set not being greater than 107, as we saw last week. Gigabyte. That's why the guy had to split the data into 2. That's consistent with what Steve said. The total amount available is very large, almost infinite, but a single data set can't be larger than 107 or whatever about.
Oh, yeah. I think from Steve's point, so something to try is using the long former notebook and swapping out the long former with the debug, and then ensembling it with the long former. And if you have time to kind of fine tune it, that's
yeah, that's definitely a good way to
Awesome.
start and quickly get a good score.
I'm curious to see that. Yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll all good luck to everybody submitting, and hopefully, Steve, you'll get your. Did you get this silver last time, or did you just miss? No, you were just missed the gold. You did get silver, right?
Yeah, I was 2 places outside the gold, I think, last time, but this time I'm just on the edge of silver. But obviously, when the shake-up comes, I could completely drop out because my model's so finely tuned. So
No, but
I
on the
said
other hand, you
6
have
or
like
7
5
ensembles. Yeah.
yeah.
You stand a pretty good chance, I think, of it being good given the number of ensembles you have.
Yeah, but I'm curious why you want to drop the long former and keep only all deburtas. Like,
Oh, it was just because of
that
the
more variety.
The long form one seems to take a long time to run, so it depends. I
Oh,
might,
okay.
if I can squeeze both of them in, I will. But at the minute, when I tried to put both of them in, I was timing out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
as I say, I think the Deberta one with the context from the long former notebook gives better results. So, but yeah, my last few submissions, I'll try and squeeze them both in.
Okay. And I'm just curious. Last question was: are you still validating on the 1,000 samples that we spoke about like last time, or has that changed?
Yeah, yeah, I am, but it takes a long time. So I've cut just randomly select 200 out of the 1,000. I can't be bothered
Oh, okay,
with
I see.
that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I see that to make things faster. Okay.
Yeah, so
Cool.
All right, but you haven't, have you found any non-Roberta V3 like Roberta or any other one of those anywhere that anybody has trained, Steve? I haven't looked actively in the last several weeks. I was just curious, besides the Roberta V3, which everybody was using, is there any other model that you've seen anybody use besides these LLM models?
Not that give a good score, no. So all of mine are Roberta, but there are other ones in there if you look at the code, but they don't give good scores.
Nice. All righty. Just wishing, well, you can always wish for the shake-up which moves you from silver to gold too. So as much as it's likely to move you from silver to bronze. Shake-up is not a true shake-up if it doesn't shake you up in all directions.
Okay.
All right. Good luck, everyone. And we'll meet next week and see what everybody has been up to, who's getting, what's the best? It's just 0.93 or something that I saw, right? So you're not that far. Although, of course, it means, you know.
The person is winning is at 0.9923, I think. They're in the 920s now. So, yeah.
Nice.
I think when I checked this morning, I saw something that was, see what the leaderboard says, 0.939.
Really?
Yeah. The top guys are at 0.939.
They've obviously got more computing power than I do.
Yeah.
The number of submissions that they've made is ridiculous.
470. Actually, but you know, the number one team is 417, the number 5 team is 438, and then the number second guys, the preferred Scantron or something, are only 82 submissions, and they're sitting at 0.930. So, you know, if you had a score for per entry, then they would probably be at the top of the list. Actually, there should, you know, for this competition, there should have been an efficiency thing, not the per entry thing, but kind of like the efficiency.
How smaller model can squeeze out, yeah.
Yeah, for some, because that would have really kind of put another spin on it, right? Like who gets the best score with the, like the smallest model, and even a runtime, for example. That would be kind of interesting to compare along those metrics. All righty. Good luck, everyone. And we'll see where each first can get to by the time the competition closes. See you all next week.
Oh. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Take care.